The movers had barely pulled away when I heard the golf cart. David was inside directing traffic, Noah arguing about which room was his, Emma claiming the bigger closet, while I stood on our new porch with my grandmother's mezuzah. The December sun felt good on my face as I touched the doorframe, finding the right spot. This same mezuzah had protected her home in Brooklyn, my parents' house in Tucson, and our place in Phoenix. Now it would watch over us in Willowbrook Estates. I just pressed it against the wood when the golf cart stopped. "Excuse me? What do you think you're doing?" The woman looked like she'd stepped out of a country club catalog. Pink polo, white visor, khaki skirt that probably cost more than my entire outfit. Her cart had HOA President emblazoned on the side in gold letters. "Hi, I'm Rachel Goldman. That needs to come down immediately." She pointed at the mezuzah with a manicured finger. "No unauthorized modifications to exterior surfaces." I kept my voice friendly. "It's a mezuzah, a religious item. We're Jewish, and I don't care if it's religious. It's vandalism." Vandalism? My grandmother's mezuzah? Something in my gut told me to pull out my phone. Arizona's a one-party consent state. 10 years as a civil rights attorney had taught me to document everything. I hit record and slipped it in my pocket. "I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name." "Patricia Brennan, HOA President, 12 years running." She said it like she expected applause. "All exterior modifications require architectural committee approval. That thing damages the doorframe. It's attached with removable adhesive. No damage. The rules are very clear." "So is the Fair Housing Act." I couldn't help myself. "Religious accommodations are required by federal law." Her smile tightened. "Well, aren't you a little lawyer? Remove it by tomorrow or face a $250 fine." Before I could respond, she'd wheeled around and zipped off, leaving me standing there with my grandmother's mezuzah in my hand. "Mom," Emma poked her head out, "why aren't you putting it up?" "Just met our new neighbor, honey." Inside, David took one look at my face. "That bad already?" "Remember how I said we should check out the HOA rules more carefully?" "Rachel!" She called Grandma Sophie's mezuzah vandalism. He set down the box he was carrying. "She what?" I showed him the recording. Patricia's voice filled our empty kitchen. "I don't care if it's religious." "Well," David said after a moment, "at least we know what we're dealing with." "Where are you watching from? Anyone else deal with religious discrimination from their HOA? Drop a comment. I have a feeling this is just the beginning." Because Patricia Brennan had no idea she'd just picked a fight with the wrong family. The violation notice arrived at 7 a.m. the next morning. Official notice. Unauthorized exterior modification. $250 fine due within 10 days. I sat at our kitchen table, still surrounded by moving boxes, and drafted my response. Cited the Fair Housing Act, the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, even threw in some Arizona state law for good measure. Sent it certified mail because paper trails matter. Patricia's response came the next day. Not about the mezuzah. That would be too obvious. Lawn decoration violation. $150. The photo showed Emma's chalk rainbow on our driveway from yesterday afternoon. The decoration had already been washed away by the sprinklers. Then Thursday, parking violation, $200. My car allegedly extended 2 inches past our driveway line. I measured. It was 1 inch, and only because the driveway itself was poured wrong. "She's targeting us," David said, looking at the growing stack of fines. "This is harassment." "I know, but we need more than that." The more came at Emma's bus stop Friday morning. "You're the new family." A woman approached me, her voice cautious. "I'm Priya Singh. We live on Desert Willow Lane. Rachel Goldman, nice to... Can we talk?" She glanced around nervously. "About Patricia?" Over coffee in my still chaotic kitchen, Priya told me about Diwali. We put up lights, just around our own windows. She fined us $500 for excessive holiday displays. But the Johnsons had Christmas lights from October through February. Nothing. "Did you fight it?" "My husband wanted to, but..." She showed me her phone. 7 violations in 2 weeks after they'd complained. We just paid. That afternoon, I knocked on doors. The Nguyen's, 3 blocks over, had been fined for Buddhist prayer flags, in their own backyard, barely visible through the fence. Maria Gonzalez got threatened with liens over a small Virgin Mary statue in her garden. The Rothenbergs had received 47 violations over 5 years, all mysteriously timed to Jewish holidays. "She owns more than just Willowbrook," Dr. Abraham Roth told me, his folder of violations thick as a phone book. "Brennan Property Group manages 6 HOAs. Same rules, same targeting, all of them." I did the math while he talked. 6 HOAs, average 400 homes each, management fees of $200 per month. That was $480,000 per month. How does she keep getting elected? Abraham laughed bitterly. "Look at the board. Her sister's the treasurer. Her nephew Brad is compliance officer. The architectural committee, her business partners. She hasn't had a real election in 8 years. That can't be legal. Welcome to HOA hell, counselor." He gestured at his folder. "I've paid $12,000 in fines rather than risk a lien. My wife Sarah keeps saying we should move, but why should we? This is our home." I thought about Emma's face when she'd asked about the Mezuzah, Noah's excitement about his new school. We're not moving, and we're not paying any fines. Abraham studied me over his classes. "You sure you want this fight?" I smiled. Patricia has no idea what she just started. "We need to organize." Abraham's wife Sarah said it simply, refilling my coffee cup. It was Sunday evening, and their dining room table was covered with violation notices, photos, and legal documents. The Roths had invited us for dinner, but this had turned into something else. "I'll create a WhatsApp group," Priya offered, "encrypted, private. Who else should we include?" By Monday, Willowbrook Religious Freedom had 23 families. The stories poured in. The Ahmeds fined for parking extra cars during Ramadan gatherings. The Yamamotos written up for a small Shinto shrine in their backyard. Even Tom Bradley, the Methodist minister, had been harassed. Apparently, his denomination was the wrong kind of Christian. "The pattern's clear," I told the group. "This isn't about property values. It's about control." Then we met Brad Coleman.
Tuesday afternoon, I was unpacking books when Emma burst through the door crying. "Honey, what happened?" "This man, he was asking questions," she hiccuped between sobs, "about why we don't have Christmas decorations and what Shabbat means and if we do weird things on Fridays." My blood went cold. Where was this? At the bus stop. He said he was checking on all the kids for safety. David was ready to call the police, but Abraham texted me first. "Brad's making rounds. My grandson, too." Brad Coleman, Patricia's nephew, 6'2" of muscle and malice, officially titled Compliance Officer, unofficially Patricia's enforcer. The WhatsApp group exploded. Brad had approached 7 children in 2 days, always friendly questions about their family's practices, always when parents weren't around. "He's building files on us," Maria Gonzalez said at our emergency meeting, "through our kids." "That's across a line," Tom Bradley agreed. His usual calm was gone. "You don't interrogate children about their faith." I pulled up Brad's LinkedIn. Criminal justice degree, failed police academy twice, now making $75,000 a year taking pictures through people's windows and bothering their kids. "We need to be smarter," I said. "Document everything. Record when legal. Never alone with him." Hanukkah was approaching. David and I had bought modest decorations, a banner, some window clings, blue and white lights for our own porch. Nothing excessive, everything tasteful. The cease and desist letter arrived before we'd even opened the boxes. "All holiday displays must be approved by the Architectural Committee," I read aloud to the group chat. "Submit applications with detailed descriptions, photos, and placement plans. Committee meets monthly." "Let me guess the committee," Priya said. "Patricia, her sister, and her business partner?" "Bingo!" Sarah Roth's voice was steel. "I've hidden who we are for 5 years. Not anymore. Sarah, no, Abraham. Our grandchildren deserve better." She looked around the room. "All our children do." 23 families nodded in agreement. Patricia Brennan had built her empire on our silence. That was about to change. I spent Wednesday at the courthouse, pulling corporate records. What I found made my lawyer brain light up like a slot machine. Brennan Property Group, LLC, 6 HOAs under management, all with identical bylaws, all with the same discriminatory language buried in subsection 4.3.2. Displays must maintain traditional community aesthetic standards. Traditional, legal speak for Christian. The management contracts were even more interesting. No competitive bidding, automatic renewals, annual increases. Patricia had locked these communities into 20-year agreements back in 2011 when she'd offered to save them money. "Mom, you're doing that face again," Noah said, finding me surrounded by papers. "What face?" "The one where you're about to destroy someone in court." "Smart kid." Thursday brought the whistleblower. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Mrs. Goldman, I'm Jennifer Walsh. I used to work for Patricia. We need to talk." We met at a coffee shop in Tempe, far from Willowbrook. Jennifer was nervous, constantly checking the parking lot. I quit 6 months ago, she said, sliding a flash drive across the table. Couldn't stomach it anymore. What's on here? Emails, memos, recording from board meetings. She took a shaky breath. Patricia has a whole system. She calls it maintaining standards. I plugged the drive into my laptop. The first document made me gasp. Strategic Plan for Community Character Preservation. It listed undesirable displays by religion, mezuzahs, crosses, wrong denomination, Hindu rangoli, Buddhist flags, even outlined fine structures designed to maximize revenue while avoiding federal thresholds. This is smoking gun evidence. There's more. Check the beautification folder. My hands actually shook.
5 years of religious fine revenue. $340,000. Actual beautification expenses, maybe $50,000. The rest, paid to Brennan Property as consulting fees for aesthetic management. She's literally profiting from discrimination. Jennifer nodded. She brags about it, says she's protecting property values from those people. Would you testify? I have kids. She's vindictive. I understand. Can I keep the drive? It's yours. Just be careful. She has connections everywhere. Back home, I called my old law school roommate, now at the DOJ Civil Rights Division. Diane, you need to see this. I've got systematic housing discrimination, wire fraud, possible RICO. Slow down, Rachel. RICO? Pattern of racketeering across multiple properties, using HOA structure as criminal enterprise. Mail and wire fraud every time they send a discriminatory fine. Send me everything. If this is what you say, it's worse. She's franchising hate and calling it property management. David found me at 2 a.m., still reading. Come to bed. She charged the Krishnans $400 for a Diwali Rangoli, called it sidewalk vandalism. Their daughter drew it with chalk. Rachel, she's made almost $500,000 in bigotry fees, David. $500,000. He kissed my forehead. So we'll make her pay it back. With interest. I smiled for the first time all week. Compound interest. December 20th. The community center smelt like coffee and conflict. I'd requested time during the open forum to formally ask for religious accommodation. The room was packed. Our WhatsApp group had done its job. Patricia sat at the board table, flanked by her sister and their cronies, looking annoyed at the turnout. Mrs. Goldman, you have 3 minutes, Patricia said, not looking up from her phone. I stood, my prepared notes steady in my hands. I'm requesting formal religious accommodation under the Fair Housing Act for my family's Mezuzah and Hanukkah decorations.
Denied, Patricia said before I'd finished speaking. Next item. You have to actually consider the request. Federal law requires. This isn't about religion, it's about property values. She finally looked at me. Every exception weakens our standards. What standards? The ones that fine Jewish families for mezuzahs, but ignore Christmas wreaths? A murmur ran through the crowd. Patricia's face reddened.
Your type always tries to make everything about discrimination." The room went silent. Someone gasped. Multiple phones came out. "What type?" I kept my voice steady, lawyer calm. "Could you clarify what you mean by my type, Mrs. Brennan?" Her sister grabbed her arm, whispered urgently, but Patricia was too angry to listen. "You know exactly what I mean. People who move in and immediately try to change everything, undermine what we've built." "Patricia, stop," her sister hissed, but the damage was done. The room erupted. Tom Bradley stood up, his minister's collar catching the light. "Patricia Brennan, I'm ashamed to share a faith with you. This isn't Christian behavior." "Sit down, Tom. You don't understand what's at stake." The meeting devolved into chaos. Patricia gavelled frantically, declaring it adjourned. People streamed out, talking in heated clusters. In the parking lot, Brad Coleman materialized beside my car. "You should be careful." His breath smelled like beer. "Accidents happen. Kids wait at bus stops. Cars drive fast through neighborhoods." I kept my hand steady as I filmed him with my phone. "Are you threatening my children?" "Just observing that safety is everyone's responsibility." He leaned closer. "Be smart. Drop this." "Step away from my wife." David appeared beside me, Noah and Emma behind him. "Now!" Brad smirked, but moved back. "Think about what I said." Security cameras caught it all. I filed a police report that night. By morning, Tom Bradley's petition for Patricia's removal had 200 signatures, but the bylaws required 60% of all homeowners, over 1,400 signatures across Willowbrook alone. Then Patricia made her fatal mistake. Saturday morning, Abraham forwarded me an email with shaking hands. "You need to see this," from P.B. Brennan at brennanpropertygroup.com to all board members, 6 properties. Subject: handling the Jewish problem. As discussed, the Goldman situation requires coordinated response. Implement enhanced enforcement protocols for problem families. Focus on technical violations they can't claim are discriminatory. Remember, we're protecting property values from cultural deterioration. 47 recipients, 1 with a conscience. I saved it 17 different ways, sent copies to my DOJ contact, the ACLU, and my personal cloud storage. Patricia Brennan could just put her bigotry in writing. We need every family she's hurt. I stood before a whiteboard in my home office, now Command Central. Abraham, Sarah, Priya, Tom Bradley, and Maria Gonzalez, our core team, sat around my dining table. "Not just Willowbrook," I continued. "All 6 HOAs. Every fine, every threat, every family who moved because of her." "That's thousands of homes," Maria said. "How do we reach them?" "Social media, community boards, word of mouth." I uncapped a marker. "We have Patricia's email admitting to a Jewish problem. Now we need to show the pattern." The response overwhelmed us. My phone rang nonstop. Emails flooded in. Families who'd suffered in silence for years finally had hope.
The Yamaguchis from Desert Springs, fined $3,000 over 5 years for architectural violations that were really about their Buddhist shrine. The Hassans from Cactus Creek, harassed until they sold their home $50,000 below market.
The Cohens from Silverado, their daughter's bat mitzvah celebration, shut down by Brad Coleman, claiming noise violations at 7 p.m. Jennifer Walsh connected me with 2 more former employees. They brought receipts, literally. Logs showing which families to target, fine collection spreadsheets with notes like Jewish holiday, increase surveillance, and Muslim family, document everything. In 3 weeks, we documented 127 families who'd faced religious discrimination. Total fines, $523,000. 34 families had moved, most selling quickly below market value. The human cost was staggering. "We need real lawyers," David said one evening, watching me sort through evidence until 3 a.m. "No offense, honey, but this is beyond one person." He was right. I called Sharon Martinez at the ACLU of Arizona. "Rachel Goldman? I've been hoping you'd call. We've been watching Brennan for years, but never had enough evidence." "I have evidence. Boxes of it. We're in. Pro bono."
This is exactly why we exist. Sharon brought in Marcus Thompson, a former federal prosecutor who specialized in white-collar crime. Our first meeting lasted 6 hours. "RICO charges are possible," Marcus said, reviewing Jennifer's files. "This is organized crime using HOA structure as the vehicle. Wire fraud every time they sent a discriminatory fine electronically. Mail fraud for paper notices. Civil rights violations with monetary damages. We filed with HUD, the DOJ Civil Rights Division, the FBI, and the Arizona Attorney General. Each agency wanted different documentation. My dining room looked like a law library exploded. The class certification motion was filed in federal court on January 15th. Judge Helen Morrison, known for her no-nonsense approach to civil rights cases, approved it in record time. The court finds clear evidence of systematic discrimination across multiple properties, she stated. Class certification is appropriate and necessary.
Patricia's response came through her new lawyers, Phoenix's most expensive firm. "My client denies all allegations and looks forward to vindication in court," the statement read. Behind the scenes, they tried a different approach. Her lawyer called me directly. "Miss Goldman, my client is willing to offer $50,000 for your inconvenience. All you need to do is withdraw from the class. Tell Patricia she's going to need that money for prison commissary." That's your response? No, my response is that 127 families deserve justice, and we're going to get it. The war was on. The FBI arrived on a Tuesday. "Mrs. Goldman, Special Agent Diana Foster, we'd like to discuss your evidence regarding Brennan Property Group." They set up in my home office, going through everything with methodical precision. Wire fraud was federal. Every electronic fine, every emailed threat, every digital transaction, all potential counts. "This Jewish problem email alone could be conspiracy to violate civil rights," Agent Foster said. "But the financial crimes,
That's what will stick. The IRS showed up next week. Turns out Patricia hadn't reported the beautification fund consulting fees as income. $300,000 in unreported revenue made their eyes light up. Then the whistleblowers really started talking. Patricia's former assistant called first. She keeps 2 sets of books, Melissa Chen revealed over coffee. One for the HOAs, one for her personal tracking. The real books show everything: which families to target, expected fine revenue, even success rates. Where are these books? Digital files on her personal server. Password is Brennan 2011. She never changed it. Legal warrant. Server seized. Melissa was right. The evidence was damning. Spreadsheets ranking families by religion with projected fine income. Emailed templates for discrimination disguised as violations.
A PowerPoint, an actual PowerPoint, titled Maintaining Community Standards Through Strategic Enforcement. 3 more employees came forward. Each brought recordings. Arizona's one-party consent law was Patricia's downfall. They'd all covered themselves. The worst was a board meeting recording from 2019. Focus on the Jewish families during their holidays. They're emotionally attached to their displays. Won't remove them. Easy revenue. By late January, the story exploded. The Arizona Republic ran it front page. Valley HOA empire built on discrimination. The headline photo showed Patricia in her pink polo next to images of violated families. National outlets picked it up. The Mezuzah vandalism case trended on social media. Property values in all 6 HOAs started sliding. Turns out, buyers don't want homes in nationally recognized discrimination zones. Patricia's past surfaced. 2 previous discrimination lawsuits in California settled quietly. A complaint from my time on a school board, a pattern spanning decades. Judge Morrison issued emergency orders. Effective immediately, all religious-based fines are suspended pending trial. Brennan Property Group must return all such fines collected in the past 90 days. Patricia Brennan and Brad Coleman are removed from all HOA positions during proceedings. "She can't do that," Patricia shrieked at the hearing. "I just did," Judge Morrison replied, "and if you violate this order, you'll be held in contempt." A professional management company took over temporarily. The first thing they did? Approve every pending religious accommodation request. My Mezuzah went up that afternoon. Legally. Finally. The criminal trial started in March. Patricia sat at the defense table in a conservative navy suit, trying to look like a respectable businesswoman, instead of what the prosecution called her, the architect of a multi-million-dollar discrimination enterprise. Federal prosecutor James Wright laid it out simply. The defendant weaponized HOA governance to target religious minorities, using wire fraud and mail fraud to collect over $500,000 in discriminatory fines.
This wasn't oversight. This was organized crime. Jennifer Walsh took the stand first, Patricia's former assistant. Looked small, but spoke clearly. Mrs. Brennan held monthly enforcement strategy meetings. She'd pull up a spreadsheet of non-Christian families and assign fine quotas to Brad. "Objection!" Patricia's lawyer shouted. "Characterization." "Overruled. Continue, Ms. Walsh." Jennifer pulled out printed slides. This is from her PowerPoint. Slide 12 specifically says, "Target high-value violations during religious holidays when emotional attachment prevents compliance." The jury took notes. Several looked disgusted. Brad Coleman's testimony came next. He'd flipped for a plea deal.
"Aunt Patricia said we were protecting property values from cultural contamination. She gave me bonuses based on fine collection from specific families. The Jewish families? And Muslims, Hindus, even Catholics she called too ethnic." Patricia's defense was desperate. Her lawyer claimed she was protecting property values, that complaints were about aesthetics, not religion. Then Prosecutor Wright pulled up the email. "Miss Brennan, did you write an email with the subject line, 'Handling the Jewish Problem'? That was taken out of context. Yes or no?" "Yes, but—" "No further questions." Patricia insisted on testifying. Fatal mistake. "I built those communities," she declared. "I protected them from becoming cluttered." "Cluttered with what?" Wright pressed. "Displays that don't match our aesthetic." "You mean religious displays?" "If they happen to be religious." Wright showed slide after slide. Christmas displays covering entire yards, no fines. Single mezuzah, $250 fine. Elaborate nativity scene, approved. Small Diwali light, violation. "Can you explain this pattern?" Patricia's composure cracked. "Those people don't understand community standards." "Which people?" Her lawyer tried to object, but Patricia was already ranting. "The ones who move in and expect everyone to accommodate their differences." The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty. All counts. 47 counts of wire fraud, conspiracy to violate civil rights, tax evasion. Brad got 18 months for cooperation. Patricia faced up to 15 years. The civil trial began immediately after. 127 family stories. Each one documented, verified, painful. "We loved that house," Mrs. Hassan testified. "But after 2 years of harassment, my daughter was having anxiety attacks. We sold for whatever we could get. Total discriminatory fines proven, $523,000. Lost property values from forced sales, $2.8 million. Emotional distress damages sought, $10 million. Punitive damages, whatever the jury deems necessary to ensure this never happens again. Patricia watched from house arrest, ankle monitor blinking. Her empire was crumbling, and we were just getting started. Patricia's empire fell like dominoes. The first HOA vote came in April. Willowbrook Estates, 78% voted to terminate Brennan Property Group immediately. Desert Springs followed within days. By month's end, all 6 HOAs had fired her company. She's requesting emergency bankruptcy protection, Sharon Martinez told me after court. Claims she can't pay damages if her company's dissolved.
Then we go after personal assets, I said. She made this personal first. The forensic accounting was beautiful. Patricia had mingled personal and business funds for years. Classic corporate veil piercing. Her 3 homes, investment accounts, even her boat, named Standards Keeper, were all bought with HOA money. Settlement negotiations started in May. $5 million, her lawyer offered.
Insurance maximum? No. I looked around the conference table at my co-counsel. Our clients were driven from their homes. $5 million doesn't begin to cover it. It's all insurance will pay. Then Patricia needs to add personal assets. 2 weeks of negotiations. Patricia's lawyer kept trying to lowball, offering $7 million, then $9 million. But we had her financial records. We knew what she owned. $14 million, I said finally. That's our number. You're dreaming. Federal sentencing is next week. Every day she delays is another day the judge remembers she's not taking responsibility. They caved. $14 million total. 5 from insurance, 9 from Patricia's personal assets, including all 3 houses and her retirement funds. The sentencing came June 1st. Ms. Brennan, Judge Rodriguez said, you perverted the American dream of home ownership into a nightmare for 127 families. You profited from prejudice and called it property management.
Patricia stood in her orange jumpsuit, trying to look remorseful. Too late. 5 years federal prison, 3 years supervised probation, lifetime ban from any fiduciary position, including HOA boards. Brad got his 18 months. They'd serve in different facilities. We distributed the settlement by July. Each family received base compensation of $75,000. Families who'd been forced to sell got additional funds based on property losses. The Hassans received $180,000 total. It didn't erase their daughter's anxiety, but it helped them start over. $2 million went to a civil rights education fund focused on housing discrimination. The HOA transformations were remarkable, but not instant. New boards were elected, diverse, actually representative. Tom Bradley led Willowbrook's transition team. First order of business, he announced at August's meeting, adoption of the Fair Housing Council's model anti-discrimination policy. Unanimous vote. All 6 HOAs implemented similar policies. Religious displays were explicitly protected. Brad's position was eliminated. Professional management companies, legitimate ones, took over operations. By December, property values hadn't just recovered, they'd increased. Turns out, buyers liked knowing their religious freedom was protected. Who would have thought? Patricia watched it all from federal prison. I heard she worked in the library, teaching literacy classes. Maybe she was learning something about diversity. 1 year later, December 2024, I stood on my porch, morning coffee in hand, watching Emma help Mrs. Nguyen hang prayer flags for the Buddhist New Year. My grandmother's Mezuzah caught the sunrise, now joined by 20 others glinting on doorframes down our street. "Mom, come see," Noah called from the community center. Inside, the Hanukkah, Christmas, Kwanzaa, Diwali committee was setting up. Yes, that's really what they called themselves.
Tom Bradley strung lights while Priya Singh arranged menorahs, and Maria Gonzalez directed nativity scene placement. "Remember when we had to hide who we were?" Sarah Roth asked, appearing beside me with latkes for the interfaith potluck. "Feels like a lifetime ago." It did. Arizona had passed Patricia's Law in September. Criminal penalties for HOA discrimination, mandatory diversity training for board members, fast-track civil rights complaints. California and Texas were drafting similar bills. The WhatsApp group had evolved into something bigger. Religious freedom in HOAs, Facebook page, 50,000 members and growing. Weekly Zoom calls helping families nationwide fight discrimination. A pro bono legal clinic staffed by volunteer attorneys. Patricia had written me from federal prison. A short note. "I was wrong. I'm sorry." I didn't reply. Some bridges can't be rebuilt. Noah's bar mitzvah last month had been the real victory.
200 neighbors attended. Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, atheists. He chanted Torah in a community center that used to ban cultural displays. "You know what I want for my mitzvah project?" he dashed. "To help other kids whose families face discrimination." My boy was becoming a man, the right kind. Brad Coleman got early release but moved to Montana. Last I heard, he was working construction. Sometimes people can change. Sometimes they just leave. The Goldmans started something, newcomers were told. But that wasn't true. We'd just refused to stop something. The basic American promise that your faith was your business, your home was your castle, and your neighbors were your community. All because Patricia Brennan thought a mezuzah was vandalism. What would you have done? I ask people who hear our story. Because it's not just our story. It's happening somewhere right now. Another family being told their faith doesn't fit the aesthetic. Comment your city below.
Let's connect those facing discrimination, because sometimes one mezuzah, one family standing up, can bring down an empire of hate. And sometimes that's exactly what needs to happen.